So now we are going to do a quick demonstration of how you connect a digital input-output module into the Excel workbook. And this you can use for perhaps go, no-go type settings and connect it to external sensors. So for this example, we're just going to use a single digital probe and do a nice, simple, plus-minus tolerance. So first, we're going to want to click on Settings. Okay, then go to Orbit Networks, then click Find All Modules. Make sure, of course, you have a DIOM connected to your Orbit stack. So when you have a DIOM on your Orbit stack, you'll see the settings like these come up here. For this DIOM, you have 8 pins with 6 pins of output and 2 pins of input. Here's your input pins debounce setting. Then you have your output pin options. We're just going to have this on worksheet C1. And then for the I/O that we're going to do in the future, let's just set it for C2. And if you'll see then that what that does is set a cell range for this, where the C2 I/O pin is pin 1 to H2, which is I/O pin 6. And then at the beginning, what we're going to do is just use an input pin to trigger a reading. So here we're just going to go low to high. So how this is basically done is for I/O, of course, it is in essence a switch, where 0 is off or low, and then 1 is high or on. So even here, you can actually switch the output pins from high to low, and vice versa. So right now we have this at low to high. And then we're going to go over to spreadsheet here. We're going to have an initial reading at A2. Then place next reading, next row, continuous readings. And you'll see here for sample on, instead of spacebar or enter, we'll just have the DIOM. Let's click OK. So we're just going to put probe here, and again A2. For later, we'll have the I/O output here. So for the first probe, again, we just want an outside source to trigger it. And again, for this, we're using a DIOM box that Solartron uses. But again, you can use any type of foot switch or other type of switch. So here we're going to use take readings. Now I'm just going to activate pin 1 for this to operate. So here I'm just triggering with the pin and getting readings continuous. Okay, so that is for triggering a reading. So now the next step is, of course, how do we want to trigger an output pin to show whether or not perhaps a part is within tolerance? So for that, we're going to go back to settings here. First, I'm going to delete this data. And also, we want to set our tolerances. So let's just go over here, and let's just say we have a simple specification of, actually, we'll just type it down here. We're just going to zero out the probe, so it'll be 0 millimeters plus minus 0.2 millimeters. Sound good? So that means that your high-end spec, we'll just type it over here. It's going to be 0.2 millimeters. The low-end specification is negative. You want to make sure you don't want to put the units in there, because actually what we're going to do in a minute is build a formula. So now go back to settings. Again, you want your initial cell address to be A2. And right now we're just going to keep it same row, continuous readings. And now we're just going to switch this to a timer, where you just have continuous readings. Go back to Orbit Networks and check and make sure that, okay, your I/O pin 1 cell address is C2. For this, we're just going to disable for now. Just do one step at a time. So check spreadsheet again, millimeters, Click OK. Okay, so the next thing you want to do is set up the formula under the I/O. Now, how this basically works is when you have the DIOM module set up for the cell of C2, the module is going to look for whether or not the cell is outputting a 1 for on or 0 for off, or basically 1 for high or 0 for low. So to set that up, you're actually going to have to do this type of if-and type logic formula in there. That is something you can look up on Google, but I'll do an example here. So an if-and logic formula is if you're taking the probe reading from A2 and it's above 0.2 or below 0.2 or below negative 0.2, then you're going to want to switch a light on or switch it to on or 1. If it's within the specifications, then of course you're going to want to say it, keep it at low or keep it at off. So to set this up, we're just going to type in the formula if and first then you need to do the logics, and that is going to be, okay, if you notice that the cell for the high-end specification is I1, so we're going to put I1 is greater than A2, or if I2, which is the low-end specification over here, is less than, excuse me, then you have 0 or 1. And these last two figures are, okay, if the result is within the specification, it's going to be 0. If it's outside this logic, it's going to be 1. Right now it is at 0 because the probe is giving no particular reading. So now the next thing is I'm going to click up to take readings and then 0 the module. So go to take readings, go to 0 the TP. So now continuously, if you'll note, the probe is running live. And if you'll see, if it's within the specification right now, you'll see that the I/O is at 0. Now if I move it above 0.2, it moves to 1. Now this is connected to the I/O box, and if you look on the LEDs, the LED connected for this particular pinout is now lighting up. So this is just a basic setup for triggering a reading or just generating an output. One of these things that can help you along is actually we have two examples, example 5 and example 6, which we'll show you here. So for example, this is example 5 provided in your folder. So for this Excel add-in, you have, again, a lower pass limit of 1.5 millimeters, an upper pass limit of 2 millimeters. The probe reading, if it's at 1.262, if that's below, it'll be below red. So you also have some built-in settings here, where if you want to go, first we click connect. Then click settings. So if you'll see, the initial cell address for this built-in example is B12, and that is set down here. Then here we are just sampling on timer. Then if you'll see, the alarm is actually down at B26. The orbit network with the DIOM, here are how the pins set up with the cell range again, B26. Sample on, low to high, IO pin 8. So now we're going to click OK. And click take readings. And again, you can start to take readings by flipping the switch. And then as you can see, if I move the probe within the measurement limit, the graph on the right will turn green. This is something you can program into Excel itself. And then if you note the alarm as well, it goes from 0 to 1. That of course can correspond with the light that is blinking on and off, whether it be an IO box, like what we have here for the demonstration, or this can go to a light, an alarm, that type of thing. So this concludes the demonstration for the Excel add-in and the training for the Excel add-in. Again, if you have further questions, you can contact your local Solartron representative. Thank you and have a good day.